Hello, my name is Braydon Guard, and I'm with the Bureau of Land Management in the Southern Nevada District Office, here to answer some of your questions about wilderness around Vegas. What is the Wilderness Act? The Wilderness Act was a piece of legislation signed in 1964 by Lyndon B. Johnson that created the National Wilderness Preservation System, which created a wilderness designation by law. What is wilderness? In the Wilderness Act, it defines wilderness by its wilderness character, which has 4 and then sometimes an optional 5th quality. That is untrammeled, and that untrammeled is defined in wilderness terms, where natural ecosystem processes are allowed to manage themselves without a human interaction. And then there's natural, the natural quality of wilderness character, which the environment remains in its natural state. And then there's undeveloped, which you'll see all the time. There's not many developments in wilderness, as well as there's no motorized or mechanized transportation. And wilderness also has opportunities for solitude or primitive and unconfined recreation. And the optional quality is other features of value. And this can be anything from cultural resources, scientific, historic, some other value. Why is wilderness important? It serves as a nice scientific preserve for ecological studies. It also creates an escape out of a lot of the mundane parts of society, creates that solitude and primitive recreation that a lot of us need to refresh on, and that's my favorite part of wilderness. What wilderness areas are in Red Rock Canyon? In Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area, it's a super fortunate area to have 2 wilderness areas, and that is the La Madre Mountain Wilderness, as well as the Rainbow Mountain Wilderness. How many wilderness areas are in Nevada? There's 70 wilderness areas in Nevada, and you'll see them spread out through the state. How many wilderness areas are in the United States? There's 803 wilderness areas in the United States, managed by 4 different agencies. And that's, of course, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Park Service, the Forest Service, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. How much of America is designated wilderness? There's 111 million acres of wilderness. However, more than half of that occurs in Alaska, the last frontier. And here in the continental United States, less than 3% of our lands are designated wilderness. What can we do in wilderness? In wilderness, you have the opportunities for solitude and primitive and unconfined type recreation, which means you're able to recreate in numerous ways. However, you're not allowed to use mountain bikes, motorized equipment. But here in Red Rock, it's super fortunate that there's world-class climbing, there's hiking, there's canyoneering, and there's a lot of opportunities just to explore. What can't you do in wilderness? You can't mountain bike, you can't OHV, and there's other equipment that would impact wilderness character that's not allowed. However, there's opportunity outside of wilderness for this recreation. And by not partaking in these, you're actually enhancing the quality of wilderness character. Can I use a wheelchair in wilderness? Yes, you can. In designated wilderness areas, you can use any wheelchair that is also rated for indoor use. What is my favorite thing about wilderness? I love just knowing that it's there. I love that I can go somewhere and I'm looking at something pretty close to how that area looked before and how it will look into the future. Thank you for your questions about wilderness, and thank you for your interest in public lands. And just remember to come prepared to be self-reliant and enjoy your wilderness lands in Nevada.